This year, in the winter collection regarding the knitwear, we're gonna develop very deep colors for this men collection. We're gonna have dynamic colors and perfect nuances for the fall. But again, we're gonna detect three main groups regarding this family. We're gonna have a renovation on our basics, like the mark, the ras, and the domi, which is gonna become very visual and with very cool colors. Then we're gonna go to the second one, which is our main inspiration in this collection, the urban nomad, with our very authentic city travel perfect knitwear. And then the last one, the graphic one, our crush pieces, really strong and with the logo embroidered in the front. So let's start with one of our staple in American vintage, is the mark. The mark, it's our family in mixed cotton and modal. It's really thin, it's really shiny, thanks to this fabric. It's our first weight knitwear, and it's kind of a hybrid between a t-shirt and a sweater. In this case, we can find the polo collar version and the turtleneck. We want to give something very retro, very college almost, very preppy, but still quite commercial and essential as an offer. Thank you, guys. Then we're gonna continue with another strong family in American vintage, which is the ras. The ras is our family in knitwear in mixed wool and alpaca. It's very soft, it's very thin but yet very warm. It's brushed inside to give a lot of comfort to the customer wearing it, and it's our entry seasonal product. We're gonna have a lot of offer, still essential but very versatile, and we're gonna try to make it fashion with a lot of nice color range, like the pop pink that we have here, for example. Thank you. And now we're gonna continue with, with 1 hour of very iconic fabric in the knitwear, which is the domi. The domi, it's a mix of wool, it's very thick, it kind of reminds us like a very premium version of the dam with its cardigan stitch. And in this case, we have a really authentic look, very urban, very adventurous in the city, thanks to the track collar and the button-down closing. Thank you. Then we're gonna go to another very famous family in American vintage regarding the knitwear, which is the mist. The mist, it's Italian threads. It's a mix of alpaca and wool. And in this case, just to remember you, it's a cardigan stitch. It's still brushed, very visual, very thick, but yet really soft. In this case, we want to give it a small twist with like a very oversized shape, low shoulder, very new vibe for this kind of fabric, very specific for the city as well. Thank you. Then we're gonna introduce you a new family, the aga. The aga as well is Italian thread. It's a very high percentage of wool because it's 90%. The fabric, it's really dry, really thick. The knitwear, it's really visual as well. And you can see that as well, this kind of wool, it's very, very fancy because we can try to have an inspiration, kind of a very grandfather vibe, very flea market, or almost like very fisherman kind of a guy from Ireland. Very nice. Then we're gonna still keep in the very visual knitwear. In this case, thanks to the work of the fabric. We have here the POA as well, it's Italian thread. It's a 90% of a merino wool extra fine, so even in this case we have a premium offer to give to you. Here we have the vanissé on the thread, which is actually two different works of the thread with two different yarns of colors as well. It's really really soft, really thin, but yet really warm thanks to the merino wool. It's really old school, and we have very visible details like the flat lock in here, which can kind of remind us this kind of very specific knitwear that you can love or hate, thanks to the melange effect we have on the knitwear. Then we're still being in the visual knitwear, thanks to the Taj. The Taj is a mix of wool and alpaca. As you can clearly see, it's very visual thanks to the logo in the front. It's really soft. It's very visual as well thanks to this brushed of the wool. And with this kind of knitwear, thanks to the turtleneck, thanks to the checkerboard, it's kind of 90s, kind of cartoony, almost the famous Cartoon Network. Then we're gonna conclude our offer as well with the last very graphic material, the gari. The gari, it's Italian thread. It's a mix of alpaca superfine, and in this case, what is really easy to notice is the tie-dye effect that we have on the fabric. We have a lot of nuanced grays, really, really emblematic, and this kind of knitwear is a very rock metal vibe, is almost like Kurt Cobain, really perfect with this kind of dégradé gray jeans. The first look is really ultra pastel and a bit childish. We play the mesh in superposition by showing the color depth. A contrast with the essential gray creates a very pure fleece inspiration. The second look is based on plant tones, strongly recalling the autumn season. A very AMV silhouette and full winter at the same time, thanks to the khaki pullover and the nuances of yellow that brings light and intensity to the silhouette. Last, we have a more street and comforting look, speaking one to each other. More weekend wear, perfect for a getaway in the countryside with your friends. The monochrome tones enlight our iconic DNA silhouette.
Et c'est coupé.